There's a place on Earth where no human being is supposed to survive. A frozen wasteland so brutal, so unforgiving, that even the bravest explorers have turned back in defeat. The temperatures drop so low that exposed skin freezes in minutes. The winds howl with enough force to knock a grown man off his feet. And the isolation is so complete that if something goes wrong, no one is coming to save you. This is Antarctica. And beneath its endless white surface lies something that scientists are only now beginning to understand. What I'm about to tell you is not science fiction. It's not speculation. It's the result of decades of research, cutting-edge technology, and discoveries so bizarre that even the scientists who made them struggled to explain what they were seeing. Because under that ice, hidden from human eyes for millions of years, there is an entire world we never knew existed. Let me take you there. When most people think of Antarctica, they picture a flat sheet of white stretching to the horizon. Maybe some penguins. Maybe a research station in the distance. It looks empty, barren, dead. But that image couldn't be more wrong. Antarctica's ice sheet isn't just some thin layer of frozen water sitting on top of rock. It's a monster. In some places, the ice is so thick that it reaches depths of 4.5 kilometers. Let that number sink in for a moment. That's roughly 2.5 miles of solid ice stacked on top of whatever lies beneath. To put that in perspective, the Burj Khalifa in Dubai is the tallest building on Earth. It stands at about 828 meters. If you stacked 5 of those towers on top of each other, you still wouldn't reach the surface of Antarctica's ice in its deepest regions. 5 Burj Khalifas. That's what's pressing down on whatever secrets this continent is hiding. And here's the thing. For the longest time, scientists assumed that beneath all that ice was just rock. Cold, dead, lifeless rock. They figured that nothing could possibly survive under that much frozen weight, in total darkness, cut off from the sun and warmth for millions of years. They were wrong. The first hints that something strange was going on beneath Antarctica came from an unexpected source. Scientists weren't looking for life, they were looking for climate data. You see, the ice in Antarctica is like a giant history book. As snow falls and compresses into ice over thousands and millions of years, it traps tiny bubbles of air. Those air bubbles contain samples of Earth's ancient atmosphere. By drilling down into the ice and extracting cores, scientists can study what our planet's climate was like in the distant past. It's painstaking work. Researchers have to drill through kilometers of ice, carefully extracting cylinder-shaped samples without contaminating them. The deeper they go, the further back in time they travel. Some of these ice cores contain air from over 800,000 years ago. That's older than modern humans. Older than most species alive today. We're talking about snapshots of Earth from before our ancestors had even left Africa. But as drilling technology improved and scientists pushed deeper and deeper into the ice, they started finding things they couldn't explain. First came the water. Beneath Antarctica's ice sheet, there are lakes. Not small puddles or frozen reservoirs. Actual lakes of liquid water, some of them massive. The biggest one, called Lake Vostok, is roughly the size of Lake Ontario. It sits under nearly 4 kilometers of ice and has been completely sealed off from the outside world for at least 15 million years. 15 million years. To put that in context, 15 million years ago, our ancestors were still early apes. The continents were in slightly different positions. The entire world was a different place. And this lake has been sitting there, untouched, in complete darkness, under crushing pressure, for all that time. When scientists first discovered Lake Vostok in the 1990s, the big question was obvious. Is anything alive down there? The conditions seemed impossible for life. No sunlight. Temperatures just above freezing. Immense pressure from all that ice above. And complete isolation from the rest of Earth's biosphere for millions of years. But life has a way of surprising us. In 2012, Russian scientists finally managed to drill through to Lake Vostok after decades of effort. They extracted water samples from the lake itself, and what they found stunned the scientific community. There was life in the water. Microbial life, to be specific. Bacteria and other tiny organisms that had somehow adapted to survive in one of the most extreme environments on Earth. These weren't just ordinary microbes either. Some of them had genetic signatures that didn't match anything in existing databases. They were potentially new to science, species that had evolved in complete isolation for millions of years. Think about what that means. While the rest of the world was changing, while species were evolving and going extinct, while entire ecosystems rose and fell, these microbes were down there in the dark, doing their own thing, completely unaware that anything else existed. It was like finding life on another planet, except this planet was our own. But the discoveries didn't stop with microbes. In 2010, scientists from NASA were drilling through the Ross Ice Shelf in a different part of Antarctica. They weren't looking for Lake Vostok. They were conducting a separate research project, studying the ice itself. As they lowered a camera through the borehole, expecting to see nothing but ice and maybe some sediment at the bottom, something moved in front of the lens. At first, they thought it was a glitch, maybe ice debris floating in the water, maybe a reflection playing tricks on them, but then it moved again. Deliberately, with purpose. What they were looking at was a shrimp. A living, breathing, swimming shrimp moving around in water that should have been completely lifeless. The creature was about 3 inches long, pale from its lightless existence, but very much alive. The scientists couldn't believe it. They checked their equipment. They reviewed the footage. They called in colleagues to confirm what they were seeing. There was no mistake. Life existed in places where science said it shouldn't. And this wasn't the only creature down there. Along with the shrimp, the camera captured what appeared to be a jellyfish tentacle, possibly other organisms too small to identify clearly. An entire ecosystem was surviving beneath the ice, in conditions that should have made existence impossible. The implications were staggering. If complex life could survive under Antarctic ice, what did that mean for our understanding of biology? What did it mean for the search for life on other worlds? Places like Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, have ice-covered oceans. Scientists have long speculated that life might exist there, but many considered it a long shot. Antarctica proved that life could thrive in places we never expected. It could adapt to darkness, to cold, to pressure, to isolation. If it could do that here on Earth, who knows what might be waiting for us in the frozen seas of distant moons. But let's get back to Antarctica, because the mystery goes even deeper. Those shrimp and microbes are just the beginning. As scientists have mapped what lies beneath the ice sheet using radar and seismic imaging, they've discovered something that challenges our entire understanding of this continent. Antarctica hasn't always been a frozen wasteland. I know that sounds obvious when you say it out loud. Of course, climates change over millions of years. But hearing that Antarctica was once warm and actually seeing evidence of it are two very different things. Beneath the ice, scientists have found the remains of ancient forests. Not just a few fossilized trees, entire ecosystems. Researchers have discovered preserved plant matter, including what appears to be ancient vegetation that once thrived in a temperate climate. We're talking about a time when Antarctica was covered in lush greenery, when rivers flowed across its surface, when animals roamed freely without any ice in sight. This wasn't recent either. These ancient forests date back to the Cretaceous period and beyond, to times when dinosaurs still walked the Earth. Antarctica was connected to other continents as part of a massive landmass called Gondwana. It sat at a different latitude, received more sunlight, and supported a diverse array of life. Then, over millions of years, tectonic plates shifted. Antarctica drifted south toward the pole. Ocean currents changed, isolating the continent. Temperatures plummeted. Ice began to form and spread. And slowly, relentlessly, the frozen blanket consumed everything. Those ancient forests didn't disappear. They were buried, preserved beneath kilometers of ice like a time capsule from a lost world. The shrimp that scientists found beneath the Ross Ice Shelf might be descendants of creatures that lived in those ancient ecosystems. Somehow, against all odds, life found a way to persist even as the world above transformed into a frozen nightmare. That's the thing about life. It's stubborn, it adapts. It refuses to give up. And Antarctica is proof of that resilience. But the discoveries beneath the ice aren't just about ancient history. They might hold keys to understanding our future. Climate scientists are increasingly concerned about what's happening to Antarctica right now. As global temperatures rise, the ice sheet is becoming unstable. Glaciers that have been frozen for millennia are beginning to move, to crack, to slide toward the sea. If even a fraction of Antarctica's ice melts, the consequences would be catastrophic. Sea levels would rise by meters, not inches. Coastal cities around the world would flood. Hundreds of millions of people would be displaced. But there's another concern that doesn't get as much attention. What else might be released from under that ice? Remember those ancient microbes in Lake Vostok? The ones that have been isolated for 15 million years? Scientists are still studying them, trying to understand their biology, their genetics, their potential impact if they were somehow released into the modern world. Some researchers worry about ancient pathogens. Bacteria or viruses that might have been frozen for millions of years, preserved in the ice like those air bubbles, waiting for the right conditions to emerge. We've already seen glimpses of this possibility in other parts of the world. In Siberia, as permafrost melts, researchers have discovered ancient viruses that still show signs of activity. In 2016, an outbreak of anthrax in Russia was traced to a reindeer carcass that had been frozen for decades before thawing and releasing the deadly bacteria. What might Antarctica be harboring? What pathogens from a lost world could be waiting beneath that ice? It's a sobering thought. The same ice that has preserved so much history could also be protecting us from dangers we don't fully understand. But let's step back from the scary possibilities and appreciate the wonder of what we're learning. Antarctica is a time machine. It's a window into Earth's past that exists nowhere else on the planet. The ice cores tell us about ancient climates. The fossils reveal lost ecosystems. The living organisms show us how life adapts to extreme conditions. Every discovery beneath that ice sheet adds new chapters to the story of our planet. And we're just getting started. Modern technology is allowing scientists to explore Antarctica in ways that were impossible just a few years ago. Autonomous submarines can navigate beneath the ice shelves, sending back footage of underwater landscapes no human has ever seen. Satellite imaging can detect changes in the ice from space, tracking movements and shifts with incredible precision. New drilling techniques are reaching deeper than ever before. The more we look, the more we find. In recent years, researchers have discovered massive canyons hidden beneath the ice. Gorges deeper than the Grand Canyon carved into the bedrock millions of years ago. They found mountain ranges that rival the Alps, completely buried and invisible from the surface. They've mapped a landscape beneath the ice that's far more complex and varied than anyone imagined. Antarctica isn't just a flat sheet of ice sitting on rock. It's a continent with its own geography, its own history, its own secrets. And every one of those secrets tells us something about our world. Here's what really gets me about all of this. We live on a planet that we think we know. We've mapped the continents. We've charted the oceans. We've sent satellites to photograph every inch of Earth's surface. In the age of Google Maps and GPS, it feels like there are no mysteries left. But Antarctica proves that's not true. There's an entire continent on our planet where the most fundamental discoveries are still being made. A place where we're finding new species, ancient ecosystems, and landscapes that no human eye has ever seen. A frozen frontier that still holds more questions than answers. That should fill you with wonder. Because if Antarctica can surprise us this much, imagine what else might be waiting to be discovered. In the deep ocean trenches. In the dense jungles. In the caves beneath our feet. The world is not fully explored. The story of Earth is not fully written. And every time scientists drill through that ice or lower a camera into the darkness, they're adding new pages to a book that's still being authored. There's something else worth considering here. The creatures living beneath Antarctica's ice have survived in isolation for millions of years. They've adapted to conditions that would kill almost any other life form. They found ways to eat, reproduce, and thrive without sunlight, without warmth, without any of the things we consider essential for life. What does that tell us about the possibilities for life elsewhere in the universe? Europa, the moon of Jupiter I mentioned earlier, has a global ocean beneath its icy surface. The conditions there aren't so different from what we find under Antarctic ice shelves. If shrimp and microbes can survive in the darkness beneath Earth's frozen continent, maybe something similar could exist on Europa. The same logic applies to Enceladus, a moon of Saturn that also appears to have a subsurface ocean. Or to Mars, where evidence suggests liquid water might exist beneath the frozen surface. Antarctica isn't just teaching us about our own planet. It's teaching us about the conditions necessary for life anywhere in the cosmos. It's a proving ground for astrobiology, a natural laboratory where scientists can study extreme life without leaving Earth. Every organism they find down there, every adaptation they discover, is a data point that expands our understanding of what's possible. And that's pretty incredible when you think about it. Let me tell you about one more discovery that really captures the magic of Antarctic exploration. In 2021, researchers using a remotely operated vehicle were exploring the seabed beneath the Filkner ice shelf. This is one of the most remote and inaccessible places on Earth. The water is frigid, the pressure is immense, and the ice above blocks out every trace of sunlight. As the rove moved across the seafloor, something appeared in its lights. A boulder. Just a random rock sitting on the bottom. Normally, that wouldn't be worth mentioning. Rocks on the seafloor are hardly newsworthy. But this rock was covered in life. Strange, filter-feeding organisms clung to every surface. Creatures that looked like something from an alien world, extending delicate tendrils into the water to capture whatever organic particles drifted by. Scientists counted at least 16 different species on that single boulder. Nobody expected to find such diversity of life in such a barren environment. The nearest source of food was hundreds of kilometers away, where the ice shelf ended and photosynthesis could occur. These organisms were surviving on scraps, on tiny particles that drifted beneath the ice from the open ocean. It was like finding a thriving garden in the middle of a desert. The discovery challenged assumptions about what's possible. It showed that life could establish itself even in the most unlikely places, clinging to any foothold it could find. And it raised new questions about what else might be living beneath Antarctica's ice that we haven't found yet. Because here's the thing. We've explored only a tiny fraction of what lies beneath that ice sheet. Most of Antarctica remains completely unknown. The lakes we found, the creatures we've discovered, the fossils we've uncovered, all of that represents just a glimpse of what's actually down there. The mystery box, as some scientists call it, has barely been opened. What else is hiding in the darkness? What other surprises are waiting for us? The answer is that we don't know. And that's what makes Antarctica so fascinating. In a world that sometimes feels like it has no secrets left, this frozen continent reminds us that discovery is still possible. That there are still places where no human has gone. That the unknown still exists, vast and waiting. Antarctica is the closest thing we have to exploring another world while staying on our own planet. The conditions are almost as harsh as space. The logistics are almost as challenging as a moon mission. And the discoveries are almost as profound as anything we might find among the stars. It's humbling to realize that after all our technology, all our satellites, all our advances, there's still so much we don't understand about our own home. And maybe that's a good thing. Because the mystery is what drives us forward. The unknown is what pushes us to explore, to ask questions, to seek answers. If we knew everything, if there were no secrets left, something important would be lost. Antarctica keeps that sense of wonder alive. It reminds us that the world is still full of surprises. That beneath the surface, beneath the ice, beneath what we think we know, there are always more discoveries waiting. All we have to do is keep looking. So the next time you see a picture of Antarctica, that endless white expanse stretching to the horizon, remember what's hiding underneath. Remember the ancient forests and the living shrimp and the mysterious lakes sealed off for millions of years. Remember the time capsule of Earth's history preserved in ice, waiting for us to unlock its secrets. Because Antarctica isn't empty. It's one of the most fascinating places on Earth, and we're only just beginning to understand what lies beneath. If this journey beneath Antarctica's ice captured your imagination, if you want to explore more mysteries of our incredible planet, then subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell. I bring you stories that reveal the hidden wonders of our world, the discoveries that challenge what we think we know, and the adventures that await in places we've barely begun to explore. Leave a comment telling me what you think might be hiding under Antarctica's ice. What discovery would surprise you the most? I read every single comment, and I love hearing your theories. Share this video with someone who loves a good mystery, because this is one of the biggest mysteries on Earth and it's happening right now. Until next time, stay curious, stay adventurous, and never stop asking what lies beneath the surface.